opposed to that, but I think the RFP should say, if your firm has an individual focus, we'd love to hear from you. If your firm can handle both sides of this equation, we'd love to hear from you too. And we decide based upon their criteria on who we'd like to work with. But I don't think we need to dedicate to one particular firm until we see what comes back to us based upon their abilities.
But the motion you made.
I'll change it.
Okay, so
Okay, thank you.
I can work with that, Susan.
I move that we pursue, let's vote on that and not vote. No.
Technically, you can withdraw the first motion.
I withdraw the motion. I move that our legal pursuit should be to develop a relationship with an individual firm that can handle either the ordinance or the municipal work, or that a firm that can handle both. We will welcome RFP responses from either type of company.
get that.
Seconded. Next discussion. Anybody got any further comments? David?
Not pertaining to that exactly, but I would encourage the town to use MMA for general questions as much as possible without incurring an hourly fee from our attorney. Make use of MMA.
I asked them for their legal recommendations today.
And Madam, the other comment is, with staffing being an issue, all the law firms are getting smaller.
Right.
And with AI coming in, they're continuing to dwindle. So by welcoming RFPs from multiple firms, I think that's healthy.
Spread the fear wide. How much experience do we want this person? Do we want somebody who's going to be fresh out of law school?
I think it'll be in the RFP. We should have a firm that can address the town's needs.
Well, the firm would propose the attorney that would work with us, so we would learn more about their resume at that time.
All right. That works for you, that works for me. Compensation?
They propose the hourly fee. That's part of the RFP.
Do we have an idea about what we want, where we want to go with that?
We're going to have significant involvement perhaps this year. I don't know if we want to, I don't know how to, we've got $20,000 allocated, so I don't know what we spend.
I think again, it's gonna just come out in the proposals, they're gonna say.
Yeah, they're gonna say what their proposal is.
And it's an hourly fee, it's not a contract for.
We're not gonna have a whole lot of say, it's either we accept their fee or we don't.
Yeah? All right. Are we done for now?
I think we
When
need to
are we
take a
going
vote
out?
on,
Yeah, we just need to vote on the open
When are we going to go out on this? When are we sending this RFP out?
So did you vote to approve this RFP
No,
with
we
changes?
haven't.
I mean, that's when I can tell you.
So, Carly, can you give us the motion again? I'm
I
sorry.
can't give you the exact motion because it is lengthy, but somewhere in the realm of developing a relationship either with a singular firm or multiple firms.
Based on our capabilities to address our needs.
Perfect.
So, a motion made and seconded to seek attorneys, either from one firm or multiple firms, depending on the needs of the community and the capability of the firms. All in favor? Any opposed?
Now, do you need to see the RFP again before I put it out?
This is,
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Well, then it will have to wait until you have another meeting.
All right.
I am uncomfortable with that. We have the proposed RFP. We've had it for a week.
It's changed.
What's changed?
Well, there's some amendments based on what,
Was said today, it's been changed.
based on your discussion about, if they have a particular specialty, we wanna hear from them, and, it could be one firm or multiple firms. So there's a little bit of language that will be added.
But yes, I'd like to see the RFP, if that answers your question.
Okay. So if your next meeting is on May 2nd, it will probably go out on May 3rd.
Okay. Okay, so, number 5, business item number 5, budget recommendations. We have the recommendations, in 3 columns. The initial, the 2025 manager would be the proposal from the town administrator, and then the committee's recommendations, as they stand currently, are in the 3rd column.
So it says here town manager, is that supposed to say town administrator?
That's because you can't manipulate that in Trio. This is how the report comes out in Trio. So I can't change that to administrator.
But it's supposed to be administrator, right?
Yes, but I can't control what it says.
That's odd and weird.
I think that is odd, we should look into that.
Well, it's not something we look into, they would have
Call
to
the
change their
Harris Trio
whole
Corporation.
software.
And
Yes,
educate
David.
them.
I just have a question. Is there a list of what the ARPA funds are proposed to fund this year?
I have a question right here on that.
Yeah, we're not talking about that yet, though.
Well, it falls into this for the
Well,
budget,
it
No,
does.
it's not in the budget. I want to tackle budget first.
but this is affecting the budget.
This is affecting the budget in my mind. I'm not speaking for the budget committee, but I want to know where the ARPA funds are going.
Proposed going.
Before the budget is voted on, is that what you're saying?
I certainly do.
Okay.
So I have the proposal, if you want me to read it.
Please.
So currently, the ARPA beginning balance is $40,528.89. There's an estimate for replacing the rear half of roof on hall addition and rear entrance door. It says $8,200. Replace fire hall cellular shades for $43.83.
Replace what?
Not replace them.
Add fire hall cellular shades for $4,583. Is that that's not the door?
No, this is, Kathy and Madeline can talk about that.
That's the big window.
The big windows, when we were sitting there
Window
freezing one night, Suzanne, how much heat's going out through those windows.
Very,
How frequently do we use that building?
people use it all the time, and it's an energy suck in the wintertime to have the heat going right out the window.
Okay,
What was
so
the price again?
$4,583. Was that a bid? Did you get quotes for that? Was that?
Yes.
Okay. Town hall generator, $8,000. ADA door openers, town hall, fire department, and town hall, 2 in town hall, 1 in fire department, $2,000. I don't think that's enough. I think it's gonna be more than that. Vinyl flooring, main hall, main level town hall, $4,000. Vinyl flooring, lower level town hall, $4,000. Complete copy area remodel, remove closet, cabinetry, carpet, and paint, $3,000. Chairs for the meeting room, $1,200. And town hall rot and corrosion, $5,545.09.
And these are all estimates. I did reach out to Brackley, who has not gotten back to me with a specific figure for the generator. And I also reached out to CNS Flooring about the vinyl, and I don't have a specific number from them yet.
So specific things have to happen with ARPA money in order for us to qualify. Now, I wasn't at this meeting, I apologize, I was traveling for work, but I'd like to certainly, before we vote on this, share my opinion since I wasn't able to do that at the meeting. I personally think with all of the work that's been done in the town hall to date, and the increased budget and the $500,000 that's coming at us from the school, some of these things can be put off to a later date. First, I think the flooring for $4,000 on the main level, the flooring on the lower level for $4,000, and removing a closet for $3,000 could be reallocated to the fire department for $14,550 for clothing, which also falls within the ARPA price point and allows us to contribute to the fire department and reduce our expenditures, because this floor is okay as far as I'm concerned. Just an opinion.
Dave?
I agree that the funds for the flooring should be transferred to the fire department, all except the door rods.
The what? Oh, I didn't say the door rod.
The door rod should be taken care of.
I agree with that.
The rest of the funds that are available, I would like to see go to anything that qualifies from the fire department, which most of it does. And that would reduce the tax.
So are you saying the shades
With your glasses.
No, the shades,
should have?
yeah, the shades should have.
So the chairs for here, the copy area, the flooring, and the flooring, which is 8, 9, 10, 11, $12,200, which gets us almost through the $14,550 clothing expenditure for the fire department.
That's your proposal?
That is my proposal.
So I agree with most of that. My concern, David, is the 2 bathroom floors in this building. Is
If
there,
they need be, if the board deems those necessary, yes, but I'm looking at this floor,
I totally agree, but I do have concerns with the 2 bathrooms.
If we do the upstairs, I would like to add on to that and say, I really don't want to piecemeal. I think taking pride in our public facilities is important, and if we're gonna do one floor, I think we need to do it completely.
no.
No.
But if the board decides the bathroom floor is warranted, I would agree with that.
I think when you walk into this bathroom here in this building, it kind of looks like, I don't know how else to say it, somebody peed on the floors, and I think that is disgraceful,
A number of times.
and I don't like,
State.
yeah.
The bathroom upstairs, there's no finish left on the tiles. You can't clean it.
As I said, if the board decides that those 2 bathrooms should be done,
And
fine.
there's crumbling tiles at the top of the
Yeah,
stairs.
the top of the stairs is
Somebody's
a
gonna
mess.
touch their toe.
The kitchen floor is coming apart. It's
No one
not,
goes-
it's not that much of a floor space.
But it's
We
a
need to
significant
get-
amount of money. We have $500,000 coming at us.
You do not need to yell.
I'm sorry, I get very upset in certain situations. I'm doing my best to contain it.
We all
We have a
get upset.
$500,000 budget that we're being faced with from the school. And we need to find ways to accommodate the school in some cases. And I think we've done a terrific job at beautifying the town hall, but we could pause that progress and pick it up at a later date when we don't have a $500,000 budget coming at us from the school.
Madeline, we have a question.
I'm
As
sorry,
as
I
a
was
matter
thinking.
of pride in the town hall, we collectively asked that the ADA become accessible at the front door. I'm hearing talk of beautification, pride in supporting our community with ADA accessibility. Is that yet addressed? And is it?
It's still on here.
Is it?
I didn't take that out, and actually
Thank you.
$2,000 is not gonna be sufficient for 3 automatic doors.
That was the reference you made. Thank you
That's,
for
I
the
think
clarification.
that's
Thank you for the
an under budgeted
clarification.
item. So Kathy, I guess are you comfortable with pausing all of this except for the 2 bathroom floors?
I know.
So I'll rephrase my motion then. I move that we eliminate from the ARPA projection, the vinyl flooring on the main level of the town hall, the vinyl flooring on the lower level of the town hall, the complete remodeling of the copy area, to remove the closet, cabinetry, carpet, and paint, and the chairs in the meeting room be reallocated to the ARPA funds, with the exception of the 2 bathrooms receiving a new floor.
I'll second that.
Is there further discussion? Ready to vote?
I am.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, you ready to move on to the budget? The only difference between the manager column and the committee column is on page 5 under building maintenance. The budget committee is recommending $2,000. That covers pest control.
Like the ants.
I am still requesting the $15,000 in case things come up that we need to take care of. When we lost our running water a couple of weeks ago, we had a $2,200 bill for that. If we do not have a budget, we're not going to be able to take care of items that come up that we cannot anticipate. So I would like some kind of figure in that column so that we can take care of this structure and other structures as necessary.
We have a wetlands contingency fund if we fall short in certain
We
areas.
do have a contingency, however, you may find at some point that you want to take on other projects that are not anticipated. It's kind of a minimal amount of money in a contingency.
But all of
And
these
it may
minimal,
not cover what we need to do.
but all these minimal amounts are adding up across the board, and we need to find a way to contain some of the cost.
I understand that, and I also remember that Julie stated very clearly at the first meeting that our mill rate was not going to increase, and that was before any cuts were made.
Can
So,
I just ask, David and Darlene, are you the only two budget committee?
No.
No. Can you tell us what your recommendations are? That would be helpful. And I
For
don't
this
care if you all do, yeah.
This was Jeff's motion.
Yeah, I'll
Yes,
speak
yeah.
to it real quick. Full disclosure, I think it was just presented a little bit different than it was to us. The $15,000 that was put in there with the understanding that when the ARPA funds dried up, that could be used to supplement the rest of the projects. That didn't feel like a good use of that money, so
Right, and it was also stated that there wasn't anything earmarked for that $15,000 except for the pest control. So we felt that without it being earmarked, it wouldn't be necessary, and that the ARPA funds is $40,000 in there. And then during the meetings, it turned out that certain items were accounted for in 2 or 3 different line items, so that's when we cut some things back, because you wouldn't need that extra money because you're using it for ARPA, so it didn't need to be in this $15,000.
So
then those items were corrected.
They
What
have
was your recommendation for this?
$2,000
$2,000.
to cover the pest control.
Haven't we usually
But why is it still 15,000?
It is-
Oh, there it is, I see committee, yep. I'm okay with the budget committee's recommendation.
That gives us very little room for anything else that might happen. Does this cover distance? Cleaning is a different thing.
There's one line for building maintenance. That is just the one line.
David?
Isn't there another article in the town warrant, there's an article for the selectmen's contingency fund, right?
That's what I said, yep.
Isn't there another article in there for 10,000?
Or,
In the usual, it just says, it's more or less a contingency fund is also $10,000?
No, there's one contingency fund.
hold on,
The unanticipated expenses, we no longer use. We haven't used that in several years.
It's been in there recently, it may not be several years, but it's been there recently, a $10,000 figure. I'm not sure if it was there last year or not. but
It was
there.
not there last year.
I'm looking.
We haven't used unanticipated expense since I got here because it was a duplicate.
So what's the
There's no
difference,
difference between unanticipated expense and contingency.
so I have a question, what's the difference between professional services and, hold on. Those contracts?
That's all the same thing, isn't it?
Well, no, I saw a different, there was a different line item. I just saw it, it was 15,000,
At the top of page 5, is that what you're looking for?
yes,
That's what I tried to explain at the budget committee meeting. See above it where it says selectmen contingency? The term contract doesn't mean anything, it's just Julie can't take that out of Trio. So it's not really a contract, that is your contingency.
Okay.
That's why it says office selectmen contingency. So that's our contingency.
And how much should we spend in the previous year?
For the contracts, I
Yeah.
happen to have my book right here.
For contracts or contingency?
Contingency, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but it's,
I think it was $150 last year.
This year it's more because we pay for surveying out of it. So this year, I don't have it with me, but it's maybe $2,000, I can't quite remember. And then the food that we spent yesterday.
$1,500 it says for Slumming contingency for 2024 year-to-date. And it was 0 last year, and $3,200 in 2022. Sorry, 2023 was 0. 2022 was $3,200.
I think we have sufficient in that to remove that line item, because we have 15,000 allocated to select board contingency.
We still need pest control.
If that's in there for 2,000, that's it.
I find it hard to believe that a town cannot have a building maintenance.
We did
Allocation.
a significant, you know what, we need to
No, I
pause.
mean for next year, in case something goes awry.
We have the contingency fund.
Okay, that's
Isn't
not
it
how
just
most
fun?
towns handle it.
Please, you're not,
As a resident and taxpayer, I am allowed to ask a question, as is any member of the public. And I'm asking if that 2,000 in contingency is specifically all marked for pest control?
Yes.
Yes, that's all
Okay.
pest control.
But I think you better raise your hand.
and I know that we were looking at generically from the budget side, trying to figure out how to save funding with the school. We have lawn care, they have lawn care. There should be a way to have a collective participation that one person does all the lawn care in the town, would probably get a better fee. We've got segmented budgets that, for the future, certainly not this year, but I think there's a way to bring it all in and get a better price per project.
That's why Steve and I have been talking for 3 years about hiring somebody to do all of
A
that
maintenance
work.
person's gonna be, I'm not talking about that. Right now, we have an individual doing lawn care in 2 different locations, 2 different companies. I'm not talking about hiring a maintenance person, I'm talking about consolidating services that we currently have.
We did consolidate those services at one point, and the school asked to be separated again because the general contract for lawn services was not sufficient for maintaining the playgrounds. So they went to a different contract in order to get the playground catered for to the standard that they needed for children to play on. So, I think that I want the kids to have a safe, clean, and pleasant environment, because they're our kids.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have a safe, clean environment, I'm just trying to figure out how we can do it better. I have one, what's this category? For vehicle equipment, last year, we had $45,000, 314, for the budget for 2024. There's a $45,000, 314, $87.
I need to know where you're at.
Page 16,
No, I need it from,
it was not in your report.
I know, but I need to know if you can look at the account number.
It is 9596. Budget, it's under dues, training, travel, shellfish warden. You know what we carried that forward, that's not the one I had a question. Is that correct? We canceled that 45,000 from shellfish and brought it forward? correct?
Yeah, if you're looking at carry forwards, those are,
Yeah, this was without carry forwards, but I believe that item was carried forward, that we took the $45,000 out of the shellfish budget.
It was, if I remember, it was a $60,000 amount in there,
And we
and we carried that towards a commitment.
carried it
We
towards the commitment.
propose,
Well, towards taxes, towards paying the bills.
correct.
So any carry forwards, what the budget committee talked about at the meeting, from my understanding, is that any carry forwards
Yeah.
not related to roads or the fire department would lapse into unappropriated surplus.
Because we also,
So we would not continue to carry over those funds.
and I see under vehicle and equipment, what's 9596, it's $32,216 for that, we had a budget of $5,600.30, and then we had an expenditure of $32,216 for, it says capital improvement. What was that? We had a budget of 5,600.
That's the year-to-date for the entire department.
For what though?
Well,
For new equipment, what are we buying?
that is the money that Julie didn't categorize where it should have gone. Those are actually ARPA funds. We used ARPA funds for a lot of that. I don't have the specifics with me right now.
Okay.
But she didn't take it, she didn't transfer the ARPA money yet.
So we
So
spend,
it's
we
not
spend
reflected.
funds and then we pay with ARPA.
Correct. She has to apply it to an account.
Okay.
But at the end of the year, and usually she waits until we get an audit, she'll move the money around, she'll do journal entries and move the money around so that it's categorized properly.
I don't have any other questions. Let me check my sheets before I say that. Little sheets I wrote on.
I don't know if I'm adding fire or dumping water on it. John, maybe you can tell me whether I'm starting a fire or putting it out. But for the, that contracts that's intended for the contingency. I'm on page 5 at the top. The 15,000, that's as select board contingency. Can we break that out so that the 15 is divided more evenly, so that there is some money actually allocated for something if the building?
I don't think we should classify it at all, we use it as we use it. Because you put it somewhere and then we can't touch it because it wasn't in the right allocation, I think that's a bigger problem. We know it's there and we can spend that as needed versus putting it in a budget item that's then committed and not available. I think it should just stay as a contingency fund and then we can reuse it as needed.
Much easier to get it done.
Absolutely.
All right,
Is it hot in here, is it me?
we've traditionally gone through and voted to recommend.
By line item, or
By
by
line
department,
item?
yeah. Let's do it. Oh, before we do that, I had an individual, Mr. Robert Arsenault, who passed away this year. But I made a promise to him that I would bring up to the board, that, and I presume as we see it here, it's gonna remain that way, that all salaries will be listed individually for transparency. And I was told I had to request that from the board. But a West Bath resident who recently passed away, I'd like to make that commitment to him, that we do it this year. So all of our salaries for the town are listed individually to provide full transparency to the community.
And you're talking about on the warrant?
On the warrant,
On the
correct.
warrant.
Then that needs to happen at the school as well.
Not necessarily.
Oh, yes, it does. If public
I'm
salaries.
okay with that. We don't,
Public salaries are gonna be
it should be. As
by
far as I'm,
individual.
it should, I think everything should be transparent. We should see what's out there. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I didn't know we can control their warrant, but I'm happy to control ours. I move that all salaries be listed individually.
Can we deal with one thing at a time? We're working on the budget, then we can work on.
Well, as we're getting ready to approve the line items, I just want to make sure that, because I see them listed individually, I want to make sure that that's how they were presented.
Let's deal with the line items as they go.
And you're really gonna go through one by one? Because you typically don't do that.
We have sometimes.
Okay, so you don't wanna do it by department, you actually wanna take it one by one?
How does the budget committee want to do?
We did it by department.
We did it by department.
Okay, all right, then we'll go by department. Okay, so tell me how we go through, tell me what is general government select board.
So that's pages 1 and 2. So the bottom line is the final line next to general government.
Is $315,506. That what your recommendation is?
I haven't got that,
Yeah, that's what
If
both
that's
of
what theirs
our
is.
recommendations are.
Okay, so, I move that we approve the general government select board budget as presented, 2005 committee.
$350,506. Is that how you need it, Carmen?
I'll get it from the.
Yeah, I'll give you a copy.
Any further discussion?
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Nope. All in favor of the budget as proposed? Any opposed? Yes, as proposed, any opposed? Okay,
Page 3.
page 3 is next, that's insurance and benefits and the payroll, for a total of $180,096. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion that we accept it as presented.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Yes.
I'm just asking, are you saying the manager column or the committee column? Because at some point it's
Committee.
different.
Committee.
It
Committee.
just did not say committee.
It's only
or
committee.
manager?
Yes, 2025 under the column committee.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so the next department is,
Pages 4 through 6.
okay, that is a total of $184,300
For,
Department is that?
for town admin office, town office expenses.
so the manager column is different, I just want to point
We're
that out.
only using
There's-
the committee column.
So you're not going to take my recommendation
We are not.
into consideration at all,
Excuse me,
even though I work for the board?
you do not necessarily, your opinion is that we don't, and we have the opportunity to discuss it, so we, not one of us can say, no, it's not gonna happen, we have to.
I move that we accept the committee's recommendation of $2,000 to cover past expense in category 1002 for building repair maintenance.
I don't see any difference between.
Page 5,
the
third
two.
column.
Page
Oh.
6 is, the bottom line
On
is
page
different.
6.
I do see that, but when I go across with the numbers, they all look the same.
Look at
They're all the same
Different.
except for
Except for
on
that.
page 5,
The two
Second up from the bottom.
almost at the bottom, the manager column says 15,000 and the committee column says 2,000.
So that's what I just moved to
Okay.
accept the recommendation of the committee column to allocate $2,000 for pest control services at the town hall.
Okay, I will second
Okay, any further discussion? I think we're missing an opportunity to get the house in order.
All in favor?
Excuse me. Is there further
Seriously.
discussion? All in favor of the committee proposal? All opposed?
So that motion was just for the building maintenance. Do you wanna do a vote on that?
So,
What was it, what's the total?
The total is on page 6.
Six, went for 183,600, for 184,300.
Correct.
On page 6, the committee's recommendation.
so we need a motion
No,
to approve that budget?
we just did.
No, you-
No, just
the
the
number.
number,
You
you didn't
We
make a
took-
motion.
We took the 15,000 out, put in 2,000, now we need to
Vote on
approve the
bottom
entire,
line.
The bottom line,
the
I
bottom.
move that we approve the $184,300 under the committee recommendation for town office, town admin office, and, what's that, that says professional services, I think it's in the category.
Town office admin.
The department is town admin/office.
That's the one.
For the town office expense.
I second it.
So further discussion. I'd like to say again, we're losing an opportunity to take care of the house. Any, all in favor? Any opposed? The next category is legal expenses.
I move we accept the committee recommendation of $20,000 for legal services.
Second that?
Any discussion?
Hope it's not.
All in favor? Any opposed? The next category, welfare general assistance. And we've,
So we didn't have any this year, but
We talked about moving the carry forwards into surplus, and the budget committee and the treasurer talked about allocating $2,000 for general assistance rather than
the
taking
15,
the carry forward.
and is a carry forward put into general? Okay.
Yes, it is, Suzanne.
I was just clarifying, I was actually communicating with David.
I'm actually the one who is in charge of that. I work for the board, so you can ask me.
I was clarifying with the committee chair too.
so we haven't had a lot of need for the general assistance. So that's why the committee decided on the 2,000.
And I just want to say, there was an article on TV the other day that said 90% of Maine hasn't had a lot of requests for assistance except in Portland, so.
Darlene?
I was just curious, we talked a lot in the budget meetings about moving carry forwards and surplus and stuff. Is that something that, I mean, it's just a recommendation from us, is that something that the board needs to take or do a motion and vote on tonight also for that to actually happen?
It's on the warrant.
Yeah, they'll vote on it when it's on the warrant. Because if they're reviewing, it's not necessary, because if they're reviewing a department and they see that there's an allocation where there used to be a carry forward, and we have a discussion about it, I think that covers us for tonight.
Are we gonna show carry forward listed on the warrant, like
Yes.
where it came from?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just know that, never mind.
So, did we have a motion to accept the 2,000?
I move that we accept the 2,000 for the committee recommendation of general assistance for 2025.
Seconded?
All in favor? The next category is protection ambulance service.
I move that we accept the committee recommendation of $236,877 for the committee for 2025.
There's
Budget committee.
87.
Did I say?
236.
236,887.
Seconded?
Any discussion? Joanne?
I know that when we were having discussions with the fire department, they pulled forward this idea of having an additional person at the firehouse during the week. We all talked about it, and, stop me if I'm wrong, but I think that we liked their option 4, which put a person in the firehouse, you're all there, 8 hours a day for 5 days. But I don't see that cost anywhere in this budget.
You're
So I
correct.
guess I was wondering what the selectmen needed to do to actually make that happen?
It will be a separate warrant article like it was in the past.
It was never there.
So we did vote on it once when
For an extra person?
David's nodding, yes.
Yeah.
We did
Okay.
it in the past.
All right, so that's gonna be its own,
It will be its own warrant article, and we will take care of the budget at that time.
so is this, sorry, I keep asking, but is this something going forward that the selectmen, because we had 4 options, and we recommended 4, is that something that the board itself decides whether it's option 1 through 4? At one of your meetings, or, I'm wondering about the process.
We look at the warrant before we propose it for the town.
I have it right here if you want me to read it for the record. Would that be beneficial?
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering about the process of how you guys decide what actually is on the warrant.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Darlene.
You know,
It seems like we made a decision and. that-
Well, and the
that-
thing is, it's not, we're not seeing it here, so it's not really reflected that it was recommended.
And that's why I brought it up.
No, right, but I think what she's saying, and I agree, is that we chose number 4 as the best choice.
What did we choose?
What do you choose? Because that is the one that matters.
So I'll read the 4 recommendations. So the West Bath Fire Department per diem options. Option 1, current staffing, single shift, Saturday, Sunday plus holidays, training coverage, 124 man-hours, $20,000, $20,036. Option 2, current staffing plus 1 additional shift, 365 days a year. It would put a second person with the chief throughout the week and also a second person on the weekend shifts, 3,944 man-hours, totaling $77,167. Option 3, current staffing plus 1 additional shift, Saturday and Sunday. This would put a second person on the weekend shifts, 1,856 man-hours, totaling $36,315. Option 4, current staffing plus 1 additional shift, Monday through Friday. This would put a second person on during the week with the chief, 3,112 man-hours, totaling $60,890. You recommended option 4
Correct.
on behalf of the budget committee. I'd like to make a motion that we also recommend option 4.
Before you make a motion, we have a motion on the floor for protection.
And that's a separate warrant item, so let's deal with what we have in the budget as the budget.
But the thing is that it's not showing here as a category.
Yes, you can vote, please vote on it after you're done running through the budget, and then you can vote on that.
Because
My fault, I apologize, I was worried that it wasn't in here and should have been in here, I didn't understand it needed to be a separate warrant completely.
it does need to be a separate warrant.
So we're all set to take a vote, right?
So
Donna?
on protection for
Yes.
236,887.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I do have some discussion, because our current model that we have right now is included in that number that you're voting on now.
Right,
So if there is a different option that
right,
is taken, that number will change.
right.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I really needed to wait and work with John to figure out.
Yeah,
what
so
the figure
option
should
1
be.
is included in that budget that you're speaking of right now.
So it would be option 4 minus option 1.
So an incremental cost.
No, the option 4 plus option 1.
No, the option 1 is like it says in there, is included in
That's your current
2, 3,
situation.
and 4. It says current staffing plus, current staffing plus.
So we're adding
Okay,
6,
can we discuss this when we get to that discussion? And let's vote on, to approve the administrator and committee for 230, for protection, for 236,887, all in favor? Okay,
so I'm gonna make a different motion right now. I move that next year that we include the contingency fund in this budget, so we're not waiting for a second line item, so we see exactly what the fire department's costing us.
can we figure out this budget for this year and then make plans later.
Yes, because I'm still not clear on what you were saying.
Exactly, so we just voted on a budget that
Confused.
That 236,887 is going to change, that you just voted.
I understand.
That's fine, we can work with that.
But it
Agree with that.
pertains to this line item that we just voted in.
Well,
That's the problem.
Yeah, but we can't fix the number tonight, it's just not going to be fixed tonight, we'll
Well,
fix it
well-
later.
Wouldn't those additional funds be included in the warrant article?
Yes.
with
Yes,
that option?
right.
Yes, it's okay, it's
So
going
that's
to
just
be
for what we have, the
okay.
additional option.
So what I was trying to figure out from what you said you gave us, so option one would have kept it the same, is that what you're saying?
Option one keeps it the same.
Okay, I got you.
Yep.
So do we add option 1 to option 4?
No,
No.
So option 1 is
Option
in to option
correct.
4.
We are
thank
off,
you.
we are off topic and out of order. Please let's come back to West Bath School Board transition 000. Do we approve that? All in favor?
Yeah, that's not even going to be on there.
Right.
Just the sheet for the
So the next one is education, general education, and this is, of course, the school board's request, and
The board doesn't
we,
make a recommendation on that.
so, but we have to include it. So, the school board's request is $4,363,852. 436,852.00. Is there a motion? I just made it. Move approval.
Well, I thought you just said that the board doesn't vote on this.
They don't make a recommendation.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
okay, you couldn't,
We said,
you
okay.
could have waited until you approved the warrant, but that's okay,
All right.
it's fine.
Harbors and Shellfish. $11,600 has been recommended by the budget committee for 2025. I move that we accept their recommendation.
And you're on order. I will second that motion
How am I out of order?
because you are not the chair. 11,600, approval or not approval? Motion?
There is a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
I didn't know I wasn't allowed to take it because I was doing it all along.
You just went a little fast on that one, I think we all took a minute to catch up.
But I wasn't allowed to, I guess I shouldn't, I won't say it anymore because I'm not allowed to.
It's a vote now, right?
Yes.
His motion in a second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
And can we try to all opposed?
All
Just, so we're in the, so when something is opposed, we're in the habit of saying it.
Right, I'm sorry. Next category, sanitation solid waste. Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve 16,600 for sanitation and solid waste.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Next category, public works, general roads.
I make a motion that we approve $1,108,260.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Darlene?
I may have, page 15, didn't we go up to 10,000 for that instead of the 5,000?
For
The-
the
The
computer.
road program?
No,
No.
No? I
Yeah,
thought
for
at
the
end of
computer,
the-
David,
Yeah,
I
you
do
did.
remember that.
You totally did. I have it written down.
Okay, I didn't remember that.
Computer discussion?
Yeah, computer and
We went to double it
it
to,
was Pine Tree coming in to do all of that. I thought we doubled
I thought we
it
were
to 10.
waiting until Steve got started this year, and look at that
That's
next
right.
year, when Steve had a better idea what it's gonna take. This was just to get him started, 5,000 to get him
That's what I
started.
heard too.
He didn't have a definite idea of how far you go, or what it would actually cost.
I thought Jeff proposed taking it to 10 and getting it as far as it could.
Oh, we're gonna have meeting minutes, right?
I made sure too.
Meeting minutes?
I was pretty sure we said 10.
Yeah, I have them upstairs, I have the notes upstairs.
Hold on, I can tell you, I wrote everything down in here.
I mean, I don't care either way. I didn't catch that.
I think it was 10, but I don't really trust my memory over years, so.
I remember the conversation, there was a conversation about it.
I thought it was left to Stevie to try it this year and see how far he got.
No, because he actually said thank you to you.
Oh, yes, you left happy, you must have given us back.
You did.
That was for the background.
Oh,
You could have had that line in your motion.
You actually motioned for it to take it to that.
Okay, I'm gonna amend my motion.
Line item 0601.
So that would bring it to, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the budget of $1,113,260, and did I do my math right?
Yes.
We did do that.
What was it, 1,113,000 you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Is there a second?
any,
Second.
any discussion? We've already had it. All in favor?
Good catch, Dawn.
Yeah, it was.
Thanks. Okay, the next category, committees, allies. We have a total of $52,233.
Say what?
I actually think that's wrong.
Yeah.
We have professional services first, then planning board, then.
It's simply for, it's page 17, it's community agencies, all of the agency requests, and the $3,000 planning board stipend, so that is correct.
But it's not for just allies.
No, it's not,
That's
it's
the
for
title,
committees.
that's the title. I was reading that so that people
So it's actually committees
oriented.
and community
It's
agencies.
Committee, allies, cemeteries, comprehensive plan, which is not budgeted, of course, community agencies, planning board, board of assessment, board of appeals. Those are the categories that are covered. So the total recommended is $52,233. I move acceptance.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The next page, 18, titled Special Assessment County Tax. Perhaps the movement should be, the motion should be, I groan and recommend $920,109. Is that a firm figure or is that an educated guess at this point?
That's the Amber figure.
Did they vote on the budget?
They haven't finalized it, but that's gonna be the figure.
Okay, so no surprise. $920,109. Move acceptance of the recommendation. Any further discussion?
Do we have a second?
We don't have a choice.
Second, I don't know why you're voting on it. but-
Yeah, you
Well,
don't make a
because-
recommendation on that anyway.
David, do we know if they got 1 or 2 deputies?
They're still deciding.
Oh.
Wow. All right, so we don't have to vote on that?
No.
I withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, business economic development, Wing Farm is the next page, and there is no assessment for that.
So you'll want to add $5,000 to the final page to account for the public works.
The computer. Okay. So the final total, somebody who's good at math.
7416, 443, $7,416,443.
Right.
Say that again, Sloan.
$7,416,443.
443. Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion? I'm sorry, I've lost my mind.
No.
Okay, so I move acceptance of the capital improvements, small town buildings, category $7,416,443.
That's a lot of money for that.
Second. Not that I have a choice.
That's the total budget. That's the total budget.
That's everything, school, county, everything,
Okay, so
except for the per diem.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I can do it after.
Okay. All opposed?
Okay.
You opposed?
No.
Did you have a question?
I was just gonna ask if the mill rate was gonna be based on this budget.
Well, Julie said very clearly before we made any cuts at the first meeting that the mill rate would stay the same, so it will be somewhere below that.
All due respect, I've heard that 2 years in a row, and taxes have still gone up. The mill rate went up 2 years ago, and last year the taxes went up.
The
Even though
taxes
the
went
mill
up
rate went
because of
down.
revaluation, not
Yeah.
because of the,
The year before that, we were told, the budget committee, that the mill rate was not gonna go up, and it went up 0.3. So I guess I'm just like to know what the mill rate's gonna be at this point.
we don't
We
know.
don't know.
I think it's hard to tell until all the pickup work is done.
Yeah, we have no idea. We have no way of knowing, for sure.
If you based it on last year's evaluation, would you know?
No, there's no way to do that, because we don't know the new value that we picked up.
Julie estimated around 5 million.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
how does
we
Julie
can
estimate
estimate it, and that's what Julie's done.
So her estimate is that, well, it could well stay the same. That takes care of the budget recommendations.
For you.
What do we need to do?
The fire
Oh, the
department.
fire department per diem request. Oh, PD. Okay. John, would you tell us about the number 4 recommendation?
Do you have the
I don't have it in
photo on
front of
that?
me, so.
So
Yes.
the number 4
What is, you want me to
recommendation.
recite it line by line, or?
No,
Number 4 recommendation, it says current staffing plus 1 additional shift, Monday to Friday. This is for the second person on during the week with the chief, 3,112 man hours.
so that is the recommendation of the fire chief and the budget committee?
No,
No. Tell me what you think.
that's the recommendation of the budget committee. The
Okay.
fire chief gave you a package of a whole bunch of options that you could consider.
Right. Do you have a preference?
The fire chief is happy with what the budget advisory committee concluded.
The deputy fire chief would like option number 2.
$60,890, which includes,
That would be a second person 7 days a week.
well, I'm gonna give you the difference just so we can understand. I wanna clarify this before we.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Yeah, not even 60,890 minus 20.
So it's an incremental cost of $40,854 in per diem over the previous year's per diem. Is that correct?
Yeah, what we have.
Okay.
So the total,
The total per diem is gonna be $60,890, which is an incremental cost year over year of $40,854
For the new position.
for the different hours.
for the second position. So, our motion would be in order. So, and if we don't, if somebody needs to make the motion to accept one or the other, we don't have to approve one or the other, but before we can really discuss it.
I move that we accept the option 4, taking the per diem to $60,890, allocating 3,112 man hours.
Second?
Okay, ready for discussion. So, since we have an interdepartmental squabble,
Oh, no, not a squabble.
could each of you speak to the benefits of each plan? Obviously, 4 is the less expensive option, but 2 is the better man-hour option. perhaps.
If you want
Well, the option that the deputy chief likes puts 2 responders responding to emergencies 7 days a week. So during the week, it's myself and that person that's there, and then on the weekend, it puts 2 people per day, per weekend in the firehouse. So, you know, currently, if we have a call on Saturday, initially, that person that's in the station could be responding out alone. This way they would be responding with 2.
But you traditionally have easier staffing to collect on the weekend? 'Cause
It's better than it is during the week, yeah.
So if we had, I mean, you're more likely to find supplemental help.
You are more likely to find it on the weekend, yes. But you take a beautiful July summer day when everybody has families, and I've gone alone on the weekends plenty of times, so. It doesn't automatically mean that you get it.
Right. But option 2 gives the possibility of having 2 people responding to an emergency at the same time.
7 days.
Yeah, 365 days a year.
And which option is safer?
Option 2.
Option two.
Which option, is that option safer for the responder or the citizen or both?
Both.
I just feel like I need to caution you that we ask the voters to do this. I think sometimes when we take little jumps rather than big jumps, it's more likely to get accepted. If you really want to push for 2, we will, but I would really caution you that we might lose it all. And maybe people see the benefit of it, then we can add the following year.
I just answered the questions with facts, but as you first heard me say, I am totally agreeable with what the budget committee concluded with, because I understand that sometimes taking small steps is the way to go.
Absolutely. And like I said, there is no interdepartment quarrel. I'm just going whole hog, and he is budget mind. I'm employee mind, and not that he's not, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the floor, he's thinking about budget. So that's the
Well,
difference.
personally speaking, I think you guys make a great team and we are well served by the entire fire
Here, here.
department.
Thank you.
So, Darlene,
And I think when we were looking at this, we thought it was a very good idea. We were worried about budget changes, things of that sort, and went with option 4 being the 2 people during the week and 1 on the weekend, because it sounded like they'd be easily stacked on the weekend, a little bit easier than during the week, obviously. And then one of the options that I threw out there, and I think this is a great thing, I love the fire department, but is that the fire department has a total of about $161,000 of carry forward sitting in their accounts. So I kind of threw out there that those being rolled in could actually cover this option 4 for 2 years without it impacting any of the tax structure and taxes for the folks. There's almost 107,000 in operations above and beyond what we give them every year to use for the fire department. And then in capital, there's almost $55,000 in there. And now that we have our investment fund and we use that for fire trucks and that sort of thing, it just didn't seem with that money sitting aside that really needed to be there, and that would be a good opportunity to fund their extra staff for at least 2 years.
and that would be a separate warrant article.
Yes.
Jonathan, do you want to speak to that at all, or?
I don't see an issue with what she's talking about. There was an accumulation of money over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's not to say that that's just gonna, in 3 or 4 more years, we're gonna have an extra 100,000 kicking around. But because that accumulated during that time and using it for that, I think makes pretty good sense.
So if you have Or if you choose, or if the recommendation is that you use that money, would you want a different option?
Yeah, I suppose it would be.
But I still think we
That's a
should
good
caution
question.
the jumping point,
Right.
and we are truly at cautioning a significant jump in the financial climate that we're in right now. You could get nothing.
And that's why we came with 4 options, right? There was an option for just 2 shifts, a second guy Saturday, Sunday, a second guy 5 days a week, or the whole hog. That's why we came, because we know the season that we're in with this town. And that's why we came that way.
Jeff, you had something.
Yeah, may I speak as a taxpayer?
Of course, you absolutely.
Can I outside of the committee as a
You are a
taxpayer?
taxpayer.
I've never done that before, it feels good.
You want to sit up front?
Yeah. I agree with what you just said 100%, and I think you have to be very careful, and incremental steps are the way to go. I would recommend, just based on watching other communities, staffing, especially fire department, public safety staffing will creep up on you. It will catch you off guard, and then you'll be looking at playing catch up, and you always will play. Once you get behind, it's so difficult to get back to where you need to be. If the town's in a good spot financially right now for this, I would recommend bringing this back every single year and looking at it every year and doing incremental steps every year so that you don't get behind and so that you're always providing the best level of care that you can.
And I think it's a great position. The only thing that I'm concerned with is the $500,000 that we're out, that we have to swallow for the school.
Understood.
And that's a significant increase, and we need to,
I agree. Yeah, no, I get it. I just don't think you should wave the magic wand and think that it's not going to be an issue next year. That's all.
and anyone who needs it understands the benefit of having everyone there when you need
And
them.
it's also, as the town grows, and we have an older population. Dave?
This was also, discussion was, this is kind of a trial run this year, to see how it works out, and choosing 4. And we also discussed the carryover, it was mentioned, all these carryovers to be put better use of the taxes, and not have those carryovers, as we discussed earlier.
We can fix the carryover real fast.
So do we need would this go on the warrant as an article, but also with,
The caveat of funding it,
right,
Yes, it would all be.
all in the same
The
article.
town needs to vote on it. It would be.
for them using their money they have?
Yes, it would be either, it's possible that it would be one article and
I think
maybe
it
more,
should.
whatever the attorney
Yeah.
suggests.
But I think we should try and make it one article, it's less confusing, and the town sees cost covered. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, that would be my preference.
Where's your
too.
confusion, David?
Well, if, the other articles, whether it was the 60,000 in the harbors, waterways, moorings,
Yeah, I mean, we've got that covered. There's gonna be other articles for the carry forward.
how's it gonna be handled?
I'm not sure exactly.
How is it,
I think what we're anticipating with the harbors in particular, that the carry forwards would be applied to unappropriated surplus.
so how is this 107 on the fire department different than that?
It's different because they would be using at least part of the carry forward balance toward the per diem positions, from
Well-
what I understand.
If it goes into so-called surplus,
It won't be there.
Well, then it's not applied directly.
But
That's
didn't we
right.
say fire department and roads weren't going into surplus?
Well, typically they don't.
Right.
It depends what you want. The fire department and the roads both have capital accounts. So, right now, there's money in carry forward theoretically at the end of this fiscal year. And money sitting in a capital account. So I don't have those figures. Julie would need to provide that information.
what I'm saying is that I think we should treat all the accounts the same. If you're gonna carry forward the so-called surplus, undesignated fund, whatever, but I think all accounts like this should be treated the same.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting that the warrant should read appropriate X number of dollars
For the fire department.
But
From
not
their
from
carry.
carry forward.
from,
I don't think it should say carry, in my opinion, I don't think it should say carry forward.
okay, just.
Just a
appropriate.
normal funding article. And if we have a separate article to do it with carryovers and have them go to the so-called surplus.
Well, then why don't we, then David, I agree with you, we should list every carryover from, by department and how that was transitioned into surplus. So you've got X from fire department, X from shellfish, X, here's our carryover number as a whole that went into the town's budget to pay for funds. So you list what departments parted with their carryover and the amount that they carried over into surplus. And I agree with that, if we're gonna do it, it should be all in one warrant item.
But I think the fire department, for the per diem article, I suppose it should be just to
Right.
recommend X number of dollars.
But then you can, but then you can say, if there's discussion, there is a carry forward that helped fund this year out of this allocation, so that they see that there was money contributing to the cost. But we should reference, I agree with what you're saying, all carry forward should be done at one fell swoop by department. And then, but dedicate a message or a note, the fire department carried forward, that they were able to cover this warrant item through carrying it forward.
That'd be up to the board to decide.
Another option would be to just, if you're going to use the carry forward capital and the operating expenses from the fire department for the per diem, is you could just roll them into the per diem account and stop funding the per diem account until it needs to be funded. I mean, it's not as clean, but at least that's 2 years' worth. It's not just only 1 year's worth. It's physically there.
But I think for transparency, with what David's saying, all carry forward should be treated the same. And you just say, here's a budget item. So then they're used to seeing it, and next year it's not a surprise.
Oh, yeah, 2 years from
Right.
now, 2 years from now, if you decide you want
Right.
to add a little bit more staffing, you're gonna see huge increases.
Right.
But it's, you're
So
gonna see it.
I think it's,
You're gonna
yes,
see
I
it.
agree with that. But certainly listing this year's carry forward additions to the general fund makes it an easier understanding and acceptable, perhaps.
But then it jumps next year.
Well, no, it's the same, it's still a budget item.
But you're rolling money into the general fund, which lowers everything this year, and then next year it goes back up again.
Well, that's the
That's
true
what
picture.
happens.
That's the true picture.
Yeah.
True.
You might as well see what it is.
I would like to point out, just so there's no confusion, we're not going to be able to put a specific figure of what the carry forwards are, because we won't have audited balance. So specific figures cannot be on the warrant.
Can
So I
a figure be on the warrant for each department?
Well, not a specific figure, because we won't have it.
Could label it as estimate.
You say approximately.
Yeah, I mean, we can have an estimate.
Yes, I
Or
think there
or
should be an
somebody could, a member of the board can stand up and explain it when the article comes
I
up.
think there should be an estimate listed for each carry forward. The estimate value at the time of the budget meeting was.
I just want to caution you that it can't be specific.
But I think you should list an estimate. I think you should show which accounts had carry forward that it came from and went to.
Carly, could you reread the motion, please?
Yeah, so we have a motion to accept option 4.
Do we want it to be more specific? To include recommending another person for how many days?
It was 100, it was 130, or 30,
Another person for 100.
Every day.
it was 3,112 man-hours, going from 1,024 man-hours to 3,124 man-hours, specifically.
Okay. David?
Wouldn't you need, if you've got a motion now, shouldn't you add for them up or down? And that would tell you if you need to make another motion.
Yeah, Maya.
I think if we're concerned about doing changes incrementally, wording it from 1,000 and something man hours to 3,000 and something man hours makes it look like you're tripling something,
Yep.
instead of saying we're adding one more person Monday through Friday.
I
That would
agree.
just be my, if we're concerning ourselves with the optics
Right.
of how we're presenting it, then I think that
One more person Monday through Friday. Do you accept that change?
I do.
Okay, so we're voting to add coverage by one person
Monday through
Monday
Friday
through Friday.
for per diem.
And do we need to put in there that it's, what did you say, 8 to 5, Jonathan, was it?
8 to 4.
8 to 4.
Okay, why not?
Should be.
Okay, are we ready to vote? All in
No.
favor?
Did anybody second?
Yeah, you said
Yeah,
that.
you're second. Okay, just want to make sure we're working. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Anybody opposed? We'll get there, we're getting there. Okay, so, the other item for the business is the review process for correcting meeting minutes. I asked this to be on the board because there have been requests for extensive revisions to Carly's minutes. And it is my concern that Carly has always taken accurate and fair minutes, and that if we each start adding our own particular things, we just do away with minutes, and we could each write our own report.
So Madeline, I can appreciate your position on that, but when I say there's certain items that I bring specifically to be put on permanent minutes for classification, and I expect those to be listed in perpetuity for review from the public who's not here. If they don't look at something, and I've heard also that we need to find a way to make the tape recording a better sounding tape. But when I put a request or I put something specific in there, my expectation is that that will be in the minutes. And so maybe you don't want as much information in the minutes, but I definitely want certain things that I say to be in the minutes, and I say them on purpose to be put into the minutes.
There's another way that your additions could be made without Carly having to redo her work, which is that you would add an addendum to the minutes.
I think that what I'm not consider, I should say, maybe Carly, please put this down verbatim. Carly, I think that the process seems to be working, other than certain things are left out. And I feel whether you like what I'm saying or not is important to be heard, and I'd like it to be added in the minutes. I don't see a problem with that. For transparency in the community, I'm not sure why this is an issue.
Because you were essentially rewriting the official minutes of the...
It's what was said. I give the timeline on the tape. It's what was said. There's nothing that's been fictitious added to it.
There's a difference between a transcript and minutes.
And there's certain things I feel important to be heard verbatim. You don't have to agree with it, but it's my wishes. And you only have 1/3 of a position on this.
I'm thoroughly aware of that, but I'm raising the issue because I believe that Carly's minutes are generally quite adequate and fair.
You're entitled to your opinion, Alan.
And I would like to point out that there's actually no such thing as verbatim minutes. I understand what you're saying about verbatim, but it's not a thing.
But if there's a point I think that should be put into the minutes and recorded for record, I don't see a problem with that being requested. And there's no way, I didn't even get a chance to see the paperwork until this afternoon when I asked for it. I mean, if to look at 96 pages today,
you actually received all of this information prior to this meeting during other meetings. So
that's not true.
other than, so you were at the budget committee meeting, but all of the other information in that packet you received previously at other meetings, and the items were tabled for review.
The stuff that Madeline added was not from another meeting.
I didn't have anything.
There's just a job description for
We can
mine.
table this and maybe look at other
I'm not gonna stop from making a
committees
request for my
that,
information, I'm sorry.
and how they do it? I move that we table this for tonight.
Second. Anyone in favor? Please raise your hand.
And maybe
Anybody
Beth and May second,
opposed?
Amy.
May second.
Discussion.
Any discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to point out that accuracy is very important. There are always mistakes and omissions, misremembrances. It's important that a procedure be established to make corrections, especially as supported by tape.
And I don't disagree with you. I would just like to see how other groups do it, and maybe we can come to something we all can agree upon. This back and forth is not gonna get us anywhere. And I'm sorry, I'm exhausted.
If one looks at the tape and it's on the tape, and it's a point of discussion of any merit at all, it should be.
Thank you for your comment. Town Administrator's report.
I'd like to remind everybody of the comprehensive plan public hearing, which is Monday evening at 6 p.m. at the West Bath Fire Hall. And the Spirit of America Award Foundation ceremony is on Wednesday, April 24th at 10 a.m. at Bath City Hall. Ron Beal will be recognized. And Town Hall will be closed for a portion of the day to allow all staff to attend that ceremony. And that's all I have tonight.
Select Board comments?
I have two. We talked about LD 2003 and adding in the language on behalf of the town of West Bath to create a minimum rental time frame. I'm suggesting 90 days. I know Phippsburg is actually, I think, going for a longer time frame than that, but for this to create accessory dwellings, it should be to create housing. I think a minimum of 90 days should do that. Anything less than that is not really creating housing for the community. So I think we need to, and I know that's a common thing happening. I thought you were going to ask Max. I don't have a chance.
Carly is working with Max on
I asked Max, he said it was super easy to do. The planning board meeting unfortunately was canceled due to illness. I've reached out to our code officer for his opinion, and this will be discussed at our next regular planning board meeting on May 14th. So obviously you're all going to be there, but I can also pass on your recommendation to the planning board.
And then I have another motion that I think will be somewhat intriguing. We clearly have differences of opinion sitting at this table. And for better or worse, that's where we are right now. I think a solution to that, and I'm going to make a motion that we, as a select board, make a recommendation for 5 select board members. This will allow for different opinions to be housed at this table and for better representation throughout the community. I'm not done.
Excuse me.
I think this is something that we can put on the warrant. I think it's a healthier position for this community to have other opinions at this table to help alleviate some of the confrontation here.
That, it's not appropriate for a motion at this time. It's not on the agenda. I would request that we put that on the agenda for May 2nd.
So I have no problem doing that. However, I want to be told that now I've taken it too close to be added to a town warrant as we approach that timeline. So if that's the case, I need clarity because I think it's important that we think about this because we need a difference of opinion up here. We are siloed and can't communicate other than in this room and at meetings, and I think that's hindering the town's progress, and I think we need other opinions up here to move this town in whatever direction the town wants to go.
We actually discussed this more than a year ago. I really wish it had been followed up prior to now, because on May 2nd, you're actually going to be reviewing the warrant down here.
So then we need to talk about it tonight. I'm not going to wait till another meeting. So I'm going to, again, I move that we have, and Woolwich has it, the planning board has 5, the budget committee has 5, the school board has 5, yet we have 3 sitting here, and I think We have very strong opinions here right now, and I think it'd be healthier to have 5 and have a broader spectrum of our community taking our town forward. So at this point, I move to have 5 select boards, 5 members on the select board to be added to the town warrant for this budget meeting coming up in May of 2024.
Is there a second?
It's unfortunate. I will get signatures next year for it.
Motion dies for lack of a second.
Can I make a couple comments on that? I totally agree. But I will say again, this needs legal review of whether or not that needs to be done at the annual town meeting. And a stickler like that. And also, I do want to clarify, because it's been said before, if we have a bigger board, right now you can't talk amongst yourself. If you have a 15-member board, you still shouldn't be having conversations with another member outside of a meeting. That's ex-parte communication. So,
Having 5 sitting here this evening would have a very different temperament.
I totally agree, but it's just been said before, we can't talk, we can't talk. A bigger board isn't going to solve that.
Any other comments?
I just want to comment about this, something on this agenda. There's no business item for future agenda items.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that.
Future
I left
agenda-
it off on one agenda where we didn't need it, and I forgot to include it back in.
Future agenda items?
Well, we need to discuss, we have talked about our administrator having a contract and responsibilities. I think that we need to address this.
Executive session.
Yes.
I would like to wait until after town meeting, if that's a possibility. We have a lot of work that we're trying to get done in this office, and we're behind.
The only trouble I have, Christine, is I don't want to be thrown under the bus saying that we haven't addressed your contract or your job responsibility, as I feel like we have that. So
I think we should do it at the next meeting. I'm with you on that. I think it's important enough that we discuss it now.
Okay, it's a heavy meeting, but if that's what you want.
So, executive session on.
So has a contract been prepared? Because I just saw the bill for it, but I haven't seen any of the documentation, and you guys were privy to have that meeting without me, so I'd like to know what other information has been.
I have no information.
There is a proposal.
So you don't think you should share it with the rest of us?
I will share it at the executive committee meeting.
No, I think if you have it, we have it. It's that simple. We have the right to review it in advance, Madeline. You don't control this table.
If you would like to have it,
I would like to have it.
all right, I can do that. I will send it to Christine and she can forward it.
Thank you.
Public comment. Steve?
The procedures for addressing the select board, is that official town proclamation at this point?
We've made it a policy,
Is this a voted on select board procedure?
yes.
How does one determine whether something is embarrassing or not? For example, one person might construe something as constructive criticism, and another person might view that as a personal attack or embarrassing. How does one make that determination?
Personally, I would say you use your best judgment. We're not all perfect. Sometimes not meaning to, we're going to embarrass somebody, or if you knowingly in your heart know that you're embarrassing somebody, I guess that's up to you.
I haven't seen any of these parameters, I think, being cited to squelch any comments, so that's to the good, but I'm just mentioning it to emphasize that this has the potential of being rather draconian, depending on who's doing the interpreting. And I haven't seen a need of this procedure, hence.
We've had some very stressful, tense moments where there have was the reason why this was discussed and adopted.
Thank you.
There have been some very uncivil comments. Any further comments?
Is there anything else that we need on the future agenda item? I know a lot of this needs to wait until after town meeting, but it doesn't have to go on. But I think we need to keep on task, and I think one of the things we talked about was another way to kind of do how we pay bills, kind of the process and how we kind of spell that out more. Kind of like a line item, if you spend $50,000 on 1/3 of whatever, Kings Point, what was done to that 1/3 of Kings Point, and any other thing, like when we spend money from the town account that we spent $150 on a new water heater or whatever, we really don't know. We're appropriating this money, but we really don't know where it's actually spent.
It's itemized in the expense details in TRIO, which I understand the board hasn't seen. You really should be viewing those reports on at least a quarterly basis.
I think on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I mean, whatever your preference is, but at a minimum,
I would
it
like
should be
to
quarterly.
actually see what we're paying for before we pay for it.
Well, and that, and
Well,
we're,
it is on the invoices, isn't it? Most of
Not
the
always,
time.
some of those invoices are pretty,
Pretty scarce.
yes.
And you don't know what it's been for either. You know, if it was for a particular, I think it's important that we have, and we've been asking for a running tally of accounts. If there's X amount in this account and something's been spent, what do they have remaining? So we can see at any given time, how the money's been utilized in
Yeah,
town.
it's on the expense details, which you should be receiving.
So I'd really like us to dig into this after town meeting and,
It's basically internal controls, and it's not in place the way it should be right now. So you're right, we have work to do.
And on the front side of that, the Parker appraisal invoice that was brought up, it seems to me the authorization of some things is a little looser than it should be. Parker somehow, I presume, thought they had permission to do such and such, even though they misstated it. Maybe there needs to be some closer watch on such things.
Further comment?
The school board has a great budget reporting, at their meetings. They report with X percentage of the year remaining, we have X amount of this budget line item remaining. So it's a good way to track, year over year, not year over year, but within the year, what you have, what
and that's really important for us too, because we get down to March and we say how much left in the budget and certain accounts, and it's like, not sure, don't know.
There's, we get the summary report every year, every 2 weeks, which does tell us what percentage we're at.
It's not always accurate.
And that's a very brief snapshot. What you should be receiving and signing off on is the detail, which actually has more of a description in it to tell you what it's being used for.
Okay.
And that's where a good way to catch errors too. If you see something applied to the wrong budgetary item, you can call us on that and we can do a journal entry to fix it.
Yeah.
Just one last thing, I actually wasn't gonna bring this up, but I can't help
But
it.
you're here.